All right, today we're jumping into one of the biggest economic stories happening right now on the entire planet, a massive new trade zone in Africa. But we're going to focus on a hidden challenge, a single problem that could make or break this whole revolution. The simple, and yet incredibly complicated, act of moving money from A to B. So yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the scale, because the numbers here are just staggering. We are talking about a combined economy of $3.4 trillion. That is a monumental economic force just waiting to be fully unleashed.
And it's not just about the money, right? It's about people. We're talking about 1.3 billion people who now live and work inside this new single market. That makes it one of the largest free trade areas on Earth by population.
So, what is this whole thing called? It's the African Continental Free Trade Area, or the AfCFTA for short. And you gotta understand, this is a landmark agreement. It's specifically designed to break down old trade barriers and seriously boost commerce between African nations, not just with the rest of the world.
And believe me, the world is taking notice. What you're seeing here is a powerful consensus. You've got major players like the World Bank, the IMF. They are all projecting strong, unified growth for the continent. The momentum is absolutely undeniable.
I mean, African Leadership magazine calls it a game changer. And you know what? That's not an exaggeration. The whole point is to create this integrated, self-sufficient economic powerhouse. It really captures the incredible optimism around this project.
Which of course brings us to the big question. If you have the agreement, you have the people, you have all this economic potential, what's the holdup? What's the bottleneck that's preventing this thing from really taking off?
And the answer is something most of us honestly never even think about. It's the financial plumbing. The system for moving money across borders in Africa has, for decades, been slow, incredibly expensive, and just a total mess. It is the invisible hurdle that can stop a business deal dead in its tracks.
So let's break that down. You're looking at 4 huge challenges. First, you've got these fragmented financial systems. We're talking over 40 different currencies. This forces so many people to rely on the US dollar as this costly middleman. Then you have ridiculously high transaction costs, painfully slow processing times, and a complete maze of different regulations from one country to the next. And to put a number on that cost, get this. Sending just $200 across a border in sub-Saharan Africa can cost 8% in fees. That is the highest rate in the world. Just imagine nearly a tenth of your money just vanishes into thin air before it even arrives.
And here you can see the result. This chart is so telling. Trade among African nations is only about 18% of their total trade. Think about that. It is often easier and cheaper for a business in Ghana to trade with China than with a neighbor just one country over in Nigeria. That is a direct result of all this payment friction.
So who gets hit the hardest by all this? It's the small and medium-sized businesses, the SMEs. You know, these guys make up over 80% of all businesses on the continent. They are the engine of the economy, but they're the ones who just don't have the resources to deal with these complex and expensive financial roadblocks.
And as AfCFTA trade advisor Peter Adam Otto points out here, it's not just about the money itself. It's about the knowledge. For a small business owner, just trying to figure out how to get paid from another country can be so complicated that they just give up. They walk away from the opportunity.
So here's the bottom line. To unlock that $3.4 trillion market, you have to fix the plumbing first. You've got to move from that old system you see on the left, that tangled web of different banks and currency conversions, to the new system on the right, a simple, direct path for money to flow.
So, how is this massive problem being solved? Well, the first major solution is this really ambitious project called PAPSS, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. Just think of it like a brand new financial superhighway for the entire continent, built specifically for instant payments in local currencies. And check out how simple it is. So a business sends a payment instruction in their own local currency to their bank. That instruction zips over to PAPSS, which validates it and sends it straight to the beneficiary's bank. And then the person on the other end gets the funds instantly in their local currency. The whole expensive, slow foreign currency step is just gone, cut out completely. So who wins here? Well, pretty much everybody.
Small businesses get faster, cheaper access to totally new markets. Governments feel less pressure on their foreign currency reserves, and the banks? They can now offer their customers a way better service. It's a win-win-win.
But these big top-down solutions aren't the only answer. You also have innovators, fintech companies like BitNob, tackling the problem from the ground up. They're using cutting-edge tech like Bitcoin's Lightning Network, which is basically a super-fast lane built on top of Bitcoin for nearly instant and incredibly cheap payments, to build a totally new way for money to move.
And this approach? It's perfect for a whole different group of users. We're talking about freelancers getting paid by clients in other countries. People living abroad sending money home to their families without losing a huge chunk of it to fees. And even just regular online shoppers buying from stores across the continent.
So as we wrap this up, this quote from Peter Adamato just feels so important. This isn't just a story about banks or government policy. The creation of this new economic space, powered by these new payment technologies, is a huge opportunity for everyone to get curious and get involved.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. For decades, the dream of a truly integrated African economy was held back by these fundamental, invisible barriers. Now that the financial plumbing is finally being fixed, the real question is, what will a truly connected Africa build next?